You're listening to Navid Moosa of the Mindset Movement.
Good day, good people. My name is Navid Moosa. I'm your host today and always for the Mindset Movement podcast. Looks a little bit different. If you're watching this on YouTube, it sounds hopefully the same, if not better. We are in Vegas for the next couple of days, so we're recording these episodes here at the Private Money Convention here in Vegas, and I am accompanied with uh, Jr., Anna, and Adam, and we are just going to be chopping it up, talking about private money, the newbie investor way, and just see if we can come up with some topics here to that find it fruitful to you guys. So we were just here off offline basically and talking about some stuff, and Anna had a really good idea saying, "Hey, we're talking about private money lending, we're talking about investing. Let's actually walk someone through the process." I'm like, that's a damn good idea. Let's walk through the process. So here's the process. If you're somebody and you're interested in real estate, the number one question I think that people or assumption you make is you have to have a shitload of money laying around to go and invest into it. That's not the case, right? You can leverage another person's money, private money lending, hard money lending. Now, the question is, well, how, Navid? How do I know? How do I find these people? How do I find a lender out there who's going to give me the money? You'd be surprised that if you just open your mouth and talked about what you want to do within your own circle of family and friends, you might get them to help you help you lend the money or let them lend the money to you. Now, that begs another question. Asking for money can be very, very difficult, right? Who wants to ask for money? I don't ask you for money because I'm asking you for money. I want to ask you for money because I'm asking you for money. And so that's a mindset. We don't ask for money in this business. You have to understand that. You do not ask for money in this business. What you do is you present opportunities for other people to invest their money with you. And that's a big shift there, right? So I'll give you an example. Sure, can I borrow $100,000 to buy a house?
Explain.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm asking you, your guard's gonna go up, right? And your body language is kind of like, what the fuck going on there, right? That's natural, right? It's different. Hey Jared, check this out, man. I found this property. I talked to my realtor about it already, and we can get it for $100,000. And we ran comps. Comps coming around 200 grand. I I called Adam and Anna up, and they did a walkthrough already, and they said it's only going to cost 25 grand, and that's we put a 5 grand buffer into there for this house. So my realtor said we can get it for 100. Adam and Anna have a bid written up for me. If you're interested, I'll show it to you for $25,000, and so we can sell it for 200. So when it's all said and done, I can list the party for $200,000. Have the realtor list it, and after the realtor gets paid and everything like that, you would get back 100 grand plus an additional $10,000 on top of that. I can have this wrapped up for you in about 90 days. I really just need about 5 minutes of your time. Those 5 minutes, I'll give you all the documents you need to to see all the numbers, and also it maybe takes you 30 seconds to write the check out. Is that something you want to hear more about?
Sounds like you thought it through, yeah.
Isn't that more engaging
Yeah.
than can I borrow 100 grand because I got this house over here that my boy, right? So, and that has to be the presentation you give to an investor.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be the presentation that you give to an investor that you say, I'm not asking you for money. I'm giving you the opportunity to invest your money and give you a 10% return in 90 days. When you present it in that fashion, there's a whole different
I'm
conversation.
in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in.
Look at
So
me.
I'm getting 10 grand in 90 days, and all I had to do was look at some documents and stroke a check.
Mhm.
Okay. And then that's one. Right now, how do I find it? That's one way you find money. You have to have your research in it. And my last episode, I talked about educating yourself on the process. So you need to understand that when you are looking for funding for your project, you need to know the ins and outs. You need to know what is actual value. How do you figure that out? You talk to your local realtors in your area,
Mhm.
and they give you the values. Number one. Number two, what's the how do I get the stuff fixed? Contractors for freaking listen. You people will go on Google and look up the best price for the latest pair of Yeezys coming out, so I can get the cheapest price on it. Well, Google contractors then and look for the best contractor. Interview 3 or 4 of them, and see who not necessarily gives you the best price. Who's going to give you the best service? When I mean, how do I figure out the best service? Here's the best service. who? Sorry, not best ever. Who do I know is going to be the best contractor? Here's how you know it. You get 3 bids. Contractor A gives you a bid for $8,000. Contractor B gives you a bid for $15,000. Contractor C gives you a bid for $17,000. Contractor B and C, see how close they are, 15 to 17. That's probably where you're going to be at. The one for $8,000, contractor A,
Something
and
don't sound right.
and Adam could probably elaborate on that. This one for $8,000 is going to be a whole bunch of change orders. Oh, it's $8,000, but how many times, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, explain that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, cheap. That's something I guess some people struggle to understand. That cheaper, you got to stop looking for just cheaper.
Yeah.
Cheaper is not always better. And yeah, I mean, with contractors specifically, a lot of them build into their business change orders. So there's two versions of it. There's like slick ones that are expecting to do change orders, right? So they're going to take it from 8 to the 17 or 15, but they're just trying to get you to sign that bid because they're coming in low. And then the other version is ones that just flat out don't know what they're doing and underbid it so grossly that they're going to get started and then quickly realize, oh shit,
I messed up.
I messed up my bid. I'm going to lose money here. And now you got a whole nother problem.
Yep.
So you're better off obviously going with the ones that are telling you the price. They have a detailed scope of work. They know what they're talking about. They're not lying to you. And to be honest, those ones are usually, they're not like dying for work. So you're not you're not really doing them that big of a favor, right? So like the good ones don't really need you that much. You probably need them more than they need you. So you need to kind of start to understand things like that when you're getting into a world of contractors and real estate agents and wholesalers and things. A lot of those people, the good ones, they don't need you as much as you probably need them. Like you're not doing them the biggest favor or saving their life by whatever. So just understand, be a little bit humble and realize that cheaper is not better. Almost never is it better. And do a little bit of homework like Navid said and take your time and be a sponge in the beginning. Be humble, ask questions, and don't assume that you know all these things when you probably are a new investor, and be open to learn.
So usually when we are bidding projects and we have contractors coming out, we look at all the estimates, and if we have one estimate that is 70% lower than the other 2 or 3 estimates, that's the first one that is going out. Why? Because that's the first one that is estimating incorrectly, or is the first one that it's going to come to the work and it's not going to finish it because he didn't estimate the correct amount. If you have 3 estimates roughly on the same number, just pick one of those 3. Don't pick up the lowest or the cheapest because that's going to be your headache at the end of the day.
Well, there you go. I mean, and that's
And if you,
It's simple.
if I can, like the reason this is important, the point of this discussion was private money for new investors, right?
yeah.
Here's the reason why it's important. Because the time that you borrowed the money costs money.
Yeah.
So if contractor A is telling you $8,000, but it's going to take 8 months,
You're out of your note.
and contractor B is $15,000, but he actually shows up and does the work and gets it done on time and right the first time, contractor B was actually cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Adam kind of took some of what I was going to say right now, but that's fine. That's why we work together, right? We kind of finish each other's sentences. It's the cost of money, right? So now we've talked about how do you present, how do I find a lender? Talk to your group. Talk to your group of friends and family. You can find someone there. And if not, you can get on Google and you can actually get on, there's an app called the Meetup app. You can do the Meetup app. Download it. I don't get anything for saying that. You can download it and then you can look up private lenders near me or something like that, groups near me. You can do that right there. I mean, this thing for Vegas, I got notification for it was like dumb luck through something, I think through Facebook or whatever. And so, so now we've talked about how do you present your deal, talk about where to find it potentially. Now, and Adam talked about the whole thing with, and both of them spoke about Adam and I, about contractors and how they vet the contractor process. So now let's put everything together in one smooth motion, right? So you have the itch to get into real estate investing. You don't have a whole bunch of money laying around, but you have good credit. Not grand slam credit, but not bad credit. You have good, average, solid, credit. You can talk to a private money lender, okay? And you have some money. And you can borrow potentially 100% of the purchase price from the private money lender. And you can take some of your cash and use that from the renovation side of things. Okay. Once you've done all that, okay, you've come to terms. Well, sorry, before you do all that, you have done research on the property. You've talked to an established real estate agent in your area who has found your property that can yield you some cash. They found a property for you. They've provided comparables for you that show you what it's worth. If it's been renovated, you have spoken to a contractor, have the contractor walk through the property as well. They've given you a bid, hopefully several contracts, like we said, about 3 of them minimum. And you got multiple bids. And out of those 3, about 2 of them are pretty close in value. I would say about in estimate. Let's say, 10% differential between the 2?
Yeah.
Like 10%, no more than that? Okay, so 10% differential in those 2 contractors. So now you have the house that you're looking to hopefully purchase. You have the renovations involved to do that job. And you have comparables, your exit strategy, right? Your exit strategy is, if I flip this house, here's what it can flip for. Now, there's those 2 pieces. That's all fine and dandy. Let's add one more piece to that. Let's say, like we've seen now, the market has shifted. It's not as hot as it used to be, at least not in PA. There's certain segments there, of course, and depending where you're at, some people are still seeing it, some people aren't. We're seeing the shift for sure. Let's say it doesn't sell for the amount that the realtor has indicated it could sell for. You need a backup plan. What's the backup plan? Renting it, right? Now, remember, you're borrowing money. And for all intent purposes, right? If you're listening to this, you've got a pen and paper handy. Let's say you write down you're borrowing $100,000, and let's say that $100,000 is costing you 10% in 6 months. 10%, which is normal, right? So that's $100,000. So 10% is $10,000. So you owe your lender $110,000 in 6 months. All right. So I want you to write down in your notebook, and if you want, you can just pause this right now and go grab a notebook and grab some paper and grab some to write with, and write down $100,000 purchase price. Underneath it, put $10,000 and put INT, interest, right? And I want you to write 10% beside INT. And that equals $110,000. So that's one thing I want you to write down. Now, next to that, on the far right side or left side, depending where you're writing on a piece of paper on, that $100,000, you're going to put $200,000. This $200,000 represents what the house is going to be worth after you do the renovations. So you're going to put ARV, after renovated value. So $200,000, and then put ARV. Now remember, we said we owe the investor $110,000, right? So I want you to put the $110,000 underneath the $200,000. Now once you do that, because you're going to subtract it, that's going to give you a $90,000 balance. That's your gross profit. You still have transfer tax and commissions to pay. I get all that. I understand that. So you have $90,000, right? That's your gross profit. From that $90,000, I want you to take out, let's just say 7%. Take 7% of $200,000. What's that 7%? That 7% represents 6% for commissions, and let's just say 1% for taxes. Okay, so you're gonna take 7% times the $200,000, the ARV. So 7% times $200,000, that's $14,000. Right. So right now, you would see on your piece of paper, it should look like this: 200,000 minus 110 equals 90,000. Next to 90,000, you can put on GP, gross profit. Underneath the 90,000, you're going to write down 14,000, and then beside that 14,000, I want you to just put in parentheses 6% or 7% rather. Sorry, that 7%, that breakdown is 6% for commissions and 1% for taxes. Again, we're just estimating here. So the 90,000 minus the 14,000 is $76,000. So that's your gross profit. 76. That's your profit. Now at that point, $76,000 is what you're going to be making. So if you flipped it, you're still going to make $76,000. That's a pretty damn good payday. if it's worth the 200 grand that you think. So let's say it's not worth 200 grand. Or let's say you don't get a buyer for $200,000. Your next exit strategy is going to be the BRRRR strategy, which is the buy, rehab, rent out, refinance, repeat, right? B with the 4 R's. Let's say it doesn't sell for 200 grand now, but the lender says, I don't care, Navid, you borrowed the money. I need the money back from you. No problem. Remember, we said you have average credit and you did quality work. You didn't go the cheap route. You went quality route. You go to a bank and they appraise this thing, saying, I want to refinance this property. So we say on the left side of your piece of paper, you have your 100 grand for purchase, 10 grand for interest. That's 110 you owe to the private money lender. On the right side of your piece of paper, you have the 200 minus the 110, right? And then again, you're going to minus your 14, so you have a total of $76,000. Now I want you to go skip like 4 lines, and I want you to write $200,000 again, right? And then I want you to write, let's say 70%. So underneath that 200,000, right? You're going to skip down a couple of lines. You write $200,000 there. You're going to do minus 70%. What's 70%? 70% is when you get the property appraised for the refinance, you're going to get 70% of its value as a loan. That's going to give you. So you're going to minus 70% of that 200 grand. So 70% 200 is $140,000. So that is what the bank is going to give you a loan for $140,000. And remember, we owe the investor $110,000. So from that 140 minus, I want you to deduct 110 grand. When you do that, you have $30,000 left over. So you had 2 exit strategies in this one. One yielded you 76 grand as a flip. The other one is yielding you $30,000, but you now hold the asset and you're renting it out. You're the rental guys. $200,000 home, average rent in our area. What's that going to give you about? How much a month?
Like 18.
1,800 bucks?
18 to
Okay.
grand maybe.
So remember, 200,000 is what it's worth. You got 70% of that. That's 140 grand. You pay the lender off 110. You pocketed $30,000, but now you have a mortgage against that property. $200,000 mortgage at about 6%. This is maybe like $1,200. Say $1,200 a month. That's without, let's just say with taxes, insurance, and call, let's just call it $1,500. I'm going to round, that's kind of high, but let's just say $1,500. And you're getting $1,800 a month in. You're getting $1,800 a month in for rent. You're $1,500. You're making $300 a month on an asset. Now, I want you to think about this. $300 a month doesn't sound like a lot. I get that. When you're first like, that's it, 300 grand? But look what you did. You borrowed money, which you paid it all back with interest. You're making $300 a month, plus you got another $30,000, right? When you refinance, that's tax-free. That's tax-free dollars, okay? So you got 30 grand in tax-free dollars. You're making $300 a month. You now have also paid the lender back in time. You don't think that lender is going to be wanting to give you back this money and say, hey, guess what? Put my money to work again.
Your next deal.
Exactly. It's your next deal.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 30 grand, $300 a month, and you're in an asset that you're not over leveraged at. You have a 30% equity position in this thing.
And the note's being paid down by somebody else.
Yes, exactly.
Now,
Not only that. Uh-huh.
I have a question. Is it a $200,000 mortgage or a $140,000 mortgage?
I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. It's $140,000.
So you're talking about more than $300 a month.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. Yes, it's $140,000. Not $200,000. It's $140,000 mortgage. So actually, that's about, let's just say $1,000 a month in a mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting $1,800 a month, $1,800 a month in rent, and let's just say $1,300 between taxes, insurance, and the mortgage note. So let's say $1,300. So that's $500 a month. I'm sorry. So $500 a month you're making. Look at that. Yeah, young Padawan over here.
You were testing.
That's
you were
right.
testing him.
That's what it was. I was testing him. I was testing. I
Wait.
knew what had happened was I knew that I did that and he fixed it.
You got those glasses on. We thought you were asleep.
I know, man. That's what testing. That's what it was. Nice catch. So that's $500 a month that you're making
And they're
with the
paying it down
30%
for
equity,
you.
and they're paying it down for you, and you got 30 grand tax-free dollars, you can go to that lender again saying, hey, I need another
My
deal.
second deal.
Here you go. Here's another money.
And guess what's gonna happen when you do 4 or 5 deals? Their terms are gonna get way better.
Terms get better when you get more, right? So now you're getting all these deals done, and now you repeat that process. Let's say what I just said happens. Let's say you do that 4 times a year.
Oh, your terms are way better.
Well, not just the terms.
Mm-hmm.
You yourself, individual, right? You're making $2,000 a month now, $120,000 of tax-free dollars that you got, and you own 4 performing assets at a 30% equity position, each and every single one of them. And now, like you said, you go from a 10%, to like, hey, maybe 9%, 8%, right? So we can spitball this as much as we want, but at the end of the day, when you're borrowing money, and if you're newbie into this business, it comes down to the research. We're going to go from how to ask. We talked about how to ask for money. We talked about where to look for it, how you look for it, and we want to talk about how do you protect it. You protect that investor's ass. That investor's I'm going to say that your asset and the investor's money. You protect it by you're doing your homework by knowing, hey, I can buy for this much, rent it for this much, and sell it. Or if I can't sell it, I can rent it. I can refinance out of it.
Right. Multiple exits.
Right? It's always me personally. I look at 3 verticals for every deal. Can I wholesale it? Can I flip it? Or can I rent it out? And if I'm hitting 2 of those 3, it's a deal. If I'm hitting 2, I'm not doing the deal. With this market, it's got to hit all 3. If it hits all 3, if it hits 2, that's my personal. But that's a different subject. Go ahead.
What would make it not hit? Is it like if it's not valued right?
If it's not valued right, so like I'll let Adam even elaborate on this because he's seen it as much as I have. A lot of people over leverage it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? They've over leveraged it, or whoever would speak on it. A lot of people over leverage it. So we just had a client who we thought the property was going to appraise for 130. The property came appraised at 156.
156. Oh,
156,000, so $26,000 more than what
that
we
was
thought.
a bull out of the park.
We were
That's how
like-
you say it.
Yeah, we're like, what? And so he was like, how much I want to take? I'm like, your numbers looked good at 130. You're still going to do 130. That's what you're going to do. He
Just make
easily
some
could
money
have
and
cashed
maybe-
in on that
yeah.
extra, but I was like, no, but your numbers look fine at this 130 figure. Just take it from that, and that's it, So if it doesn't renovate, yeah, but like that's why when I do my numbers, I know a lot of people like 80%, 90%. I can get 95% if I don't put if I put in my personal name. That's all fine and dandy, but those guys and gals ain't gonna be around. They won't be around longevity in the business. If you do 70%, that is more than enough conservative. That's the
And
norm.
If it doesn't work at 70%, you should find a better deal.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not a deal.
So a lot of times we just walk away from deals and we tell our investors like that is not a good deal when we do the numbers. Especially because we don't want them to be all messed up
Yeah, and that's
at the end of the.
and keeping the spirit of the new investor.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't find the deal, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel because a lot of times we have these. This is being recorded in October. This episode here, for example. And we're like, okay, next year I'm going to kick ass. I'm going to do investing. I'm going to make sure I get something. Right. And so, okay, fine. The year goes through and you haven't found anything. You haven't found a deal. Nothing is coming through. And we get desperate. You're like, I got to buy something. I got to buy something. And just for the sake of you saying, I got a deal, you buy something you should have never, ever bought to begin with. You convince yourself. You convince yourself that this is a good deal. I should buy this. I should buy this because X. When no, you shouldn't buy because X. You shouldn't. It's okay. If the numbers don't work, don't work. What is that Jay-Z, that one line? Numbers don't lie, right? It's just as simple as that. They don't. Numbers don't lie. Here's what the comps say. If it's the income approach, here's what the value is based off income approach. Here's what it is. Don't start saying, well, I know my renovation budget was $50,000, but maybe I'll just make it $40,000.
You're talking yourself into it.
And then I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and stuff like that. Those are the worst deals. And I've done that. Yeah.
I'm gonna work myself.
Yes.
On it. No.
Oh, we talked about that, right? I'll do it on weekends after my full-time job and being a parent and stuff like that. That's the first thing I want to do is on a Saturday is wake up first thing in the morning and go work on a house here.
I'm taking the kids.
Stuff like that.
Not happening.
Excuse me. Yeah, exactly. Right. So you'll talk, like Adam said, you're going to talk yourself into it. And like Anna said, what are you doing on a weekend? Now if you're handy, you want to do it, go ahead. But I will tell you this, personally speaking, I'm not handy. Everyone knows me, knows that. I'm not a handy person. If the deal does not work, or sorry, if the deal only works because I have to do physical labor, it's not a deal. I mean, that's just how I refuse to. That's just me. I'm not going to say, well, in order for it to make it work, I'll do some of this laboring myself. No, I can paint. No. But now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of. You're very handy. You are. I'm surrounded by handy people. I'm not handy. All three of these are okay.
But
now,
time
it's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement. But if they, you know what, I'm free this weekend. I can do it.
Nah.
Yeah, or if
why not? I'll just go ahead and do it. That's fine.
Worth.
If shit falls apart and you have to, okay, it's
that's a whole different story. You know?
That's different.
But
yeah,
it shouldn't be a part of your plan.
No, it should not be right. That's
if you're
exactly.
investing, it shouldn't be. Part
You
of
shouldn't
your time.
be. You yourself should not be part of the plan to getting something. Your job is saying, assess
This
it. It
is
looks
my
good.
plan.
Here's the funding for it. I'm stepping away.
Yeah,
and I'm going to work on getting the next deals done. That's it. Now, having said all of that, I do highly recommend if you go down this path of investing and go down this path of learning this process, when you lock up your first deal, go and meet your contractors on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Go there, see what they're doing. Ask them, hey, I'm not handy, but I know how to put on a switch, a light switch, or I know how to put this plate on here or whatever, screw something. Just get an idea what these contractors do. And I strongly recommend that when you first start this business, even if you saying, listen, I don't know if I want to do this, talk to someone who's in the business and just see, can I shadow you? Can I go look at one of your projects? Can I go check it out? Because when you do that, you get an understanding of what these contractors actually put themselves through when they bid these jobs. It's easy to say, well, I can put that door handle on. I can put that light switch on. I can do this. I can lay that carpet. I can go ahead and put the molding on. It's only 4 nails. You're being stupid and naive. I'm sorry, there's no way to say it. You're being stupid and naive if you think that all these contractors do is run to a big box store, come back with a whole bunch of supplies and just pick things up and put them down and hang them up and leave. There's more than that. There's a lot more than that, right? So no one tells you how to do your job. Please don't tell a contractor how to do theirs. You hired them for a reason. You know, so we're going to wrap this episode up about this one here. Well, before we wrap it up, is there anything else? Did I miss anything? Did you guys want to say anything?
I would say, well, if I can, you said about, I think it's a good point, is people set goals. Like we get that a lot of people come to us and say, I want to buy 10 doors this year, or I want to buy 20 doors in the next 2 years or whatever. That's great. But if those 20 doors don't come along at the right numbers, you should be prepared to not.
Yeah.
Complete your goal.
It's better to not reach the goal than to force the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. For those listening, if you have these goals, don't think you're a failure because you didn't accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
If you didn't accomplish the goal because you didn't do shit, that's a whole different story.
That's different.
If you didn't accomplish the goal because, hey, the opportunity never presented itself. I mean, I had this come in front of me, but I just tried it and the numbers didn't work. Okay, that's fine. But that's absolutely fine. I mean, you talked about it for a while before you found something. We found you something. It took a while. Everything had to fit, and it fit finally. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Just because you set a goal of having 20 doors by this time, you don't get 20 doesn't mean you failed or you force it. It just means, hey, I tried, the opportunity wasn't there. Okay, perfect. That's fine.
And I'm doing good deals. Like,
yes. I'd rather have 5 solid deals than
Yep.
10 shitty deals.
In this last like year and some change, there's a lot of stuff that came across with it that we're not
No, we passed on a lot.
passing on a lot.
We
of
passed
stuff.
on a lot of deals because
There's-
they weren't deals. Like, no, we can see where the market is shifting. No, this is not going to work.
We feel that those deals are coming soon, like
Yeah.
somewhat around the corner. That it should start fitting in the box a little bit better. It was a seller's market in the last year and some change, right?
Yeah, it's good past 2 years.
You got to
something
be
like that.
patient sometimes.
Yeah.
be patient. And the other thing is, as a first time investor, not every lender, hard money lender, hard money lender, it's going to allow you to participate of the program. Most of these hard money lenders, they're looking for experience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You also need to be aware of that and have a team that takes you over or
Absolutely.
shows you how to go through the process.
Yeah, that is the expectation. Actually, so the next episode will actually, to keep these short, so we'll wrap this one up here, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to talk about managing expectations
Yeah.
when you go to borrow the funds, right? We talked about the deal structure just now. So this episode, we talked about the deal structure. How do you find the money potentially? How do you ask for it potentially? How do you find the deal? And how do you structure everything? Okay, that's all fine. Now let's talk about the expectations of, hearing the word no, and why you may hear the word no, but I want you to listen to something else in there, and we'll go back. The next episode, we'll talk about the expectations of borrowing money from a private lender or a hard money lender. All right, so that wraps up this episode here. Again, we're in Vegas all week this week rather. And if my wife is watching, I promise you, babe, we are working.
Shout out to RS
We
Media.
are.
Yes, RS Media. Thank you. I was going to say that. I'm about RS Media. For those, this is another episode we're doing here. This is RS Media in Vegas. It's an amazing space. This is really cool.
This
It's
is
nice and
very nice.
open. This is very nice. If you're ever in Vegas, Google RS Media. If you wanted to do a podcast, never did one, ask them, interview, talk to them. They'll set you up, stuff like that. I'm not tech inclined. We just sit here and talk, and they do all the work.
They did everything.
So this is awesome.
Yeah.
So wrapping up today's episode from Vegas. Like each and every week I said the same thing. Just do right by the client. I promise you. If you just do right by the client, everything else will fall into place. And sometimes that means doing right and taking care of yourself. You could be your own client. All right. Be good, be safe out there, and we'll see you all next week or next episode. Take care.